Tēnā koutou e te whānau, no mai, haere mai ki tēnei kōrero. Ko Jess Tyson tōku ingoa. I'm Jess Tyson, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get into things, I'd like to please invite Whai Hira to begin our karakia.
Tui tawa mai I runga, rangi nui e tui nei. Tui tawa mai I raro, papatua nuku e takoto nei. Tui tawa mai I waho, tai ao. Tui tawa mai I roto, ia tangata. Kia tau ai te mauri tū, ki te kato, haunge, huie, tāki e.
Rawe, tēnā koe I tō karakia whaia. Thank you for opening our kōrero today. Today I will be talking with one rangatahi and two practitioners from Tōnest about their mahi at Te Matatini 2023. Firstly, I'd like to ask our panel to introduce themselves, and then after that we can launch into the highlights, challenges and findings from Te Matatini that will be used for future kaupapa in the vision of Kua Ea, elimination strategy to end sexual violence in Aotearoa. Ko waio, ko roa pihu te maunga, ko wanganui te awa, ko te atiho nui a pāparangi te iwi, ko parikino, ko pungirehu me putiki ngā marae. No wanganui a hau, engari e noho anō ki tāmaki whakaurau I ngāenei. I am a reporter at Ngā Mauri and founder of sexual harm prevention charity Brave. That's me, but can we please go around our panel? Please introduce yourselves.
Kia ora Dean. E uri au, nā te kahu ki whangaro, te ao pauri nā pui, taha toko pāpa, toko krani, māma o toko pāpa, whakatohia, o poriki, o papi, toko māma, tōna pāpa, no Ngāti Parau, rangituki e tiki, tōna māma, te whānau ākai te aitanga mahaki. Ko hira pēsa hau, ko au e noho ana kei runga te paitaka wainga Tōnest, kei roto te whare a Ngā Kaitiaki Mauri. Engari e noho au kei roto te pūkotahitanga, Ministerial Advisory Team for Violence and Sexual Abuse. Ko hira taku ingoa, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora koutou, ko te aniwaniwa tēnei, ki te taha o tōku māma, he uri noa te Aotearoa a Paparangi, kia ora whanaunga, tūwhare toa me Ngāti Kahungunu ki Here Taunga, ki te taha o tōku pāpa, no Ngāti Rangitahi me Ngāti Parau, whānau apanui me te whānau atu whakaeri yeah, that's me.
Kia ora. Kia ora koutou. Ko ngā hui, ko nai takatua nā iwi te taha o tōku pāpa, ko Ngāti Kahungunu te iwi te taha o tōku māma. Engari e noho ana hau ki o taitahi. Ko Billie Jean Cassidy a hau. I am the kaiwhakahaere of Te Puna Oranga in Christchurch and a member of Ngā Kaitiaki Mauri. Kia ora.
Rawe, tēnā koutou I o koutou kōrero. Thank you so much for sharing your whakapapa to us. Lovely to know that we're from the same place. That's so funny. Rawe, and so the kaupapa today is about the mahi that was done at Te Matatini, which is the largest kaupapa Māori event with more than 60,000 who came along to celebrate kapahaka and te ao Māori. It was a great opportunity for Tōnest to raise awareness about mahi tūkino, create wāhi tapu for safe disclosures and distribute resources out to iwi from across the motu. Can you share with me what exactly happened at Te Matatini with the mahi that was done? Can you describe what happened so everyone can just know the greatness?
We had a rōpū rangatahi who worked really brilliantly and very, very hard. They hardly had any peace because the draw of the crowd was quite phenomenal, really. They were interested in and what Ngā Kaitiaki Mauri had to offer, and love the resources when I come to kōwaio, who am I? It's a resource that we have worked on and done for ngā rangatahi and ngā mokopuna, and it was I have to say riveting. It was, yeah.
So we were there as Ngā Kaitiaki Mauri to highlight, I guess, sexual violence in our community on mahi tūkino, but the mahi that we did there was led by the rangatahi group, who were just fantastic.
They were awesome.
And that was done via a survey. With the resources like Fire said, so as people came to our tent, to our stall, they were offered a survey to provide feedback to us, and they received resources as a result of doing the survey.
What were some of the main highlights from the week, from being there?
You know what? One of the highlights for me was the participation of whānau who were there. Like, there was lots of Māori there at the event, but the fact that they were willing to come and participate and fill in a survey despite what the kaupapa was, that was a real highlight for me.
One of the highlights for me would have to be the kuras that partake in the surveys and wanting knowledge, and that was kura kaupapas in the greater Auckland region. They came lock, stock and barrel and walked away with cartons of resources, for their tamariki. And the nannies that participated, for their mokos, and they... The beautiful thing about it for some nannies is that for some of them, first time ever that they've been seen something that they know so well in their past years being openly talked about, and that it's make it safer for the mokos. And I had nannies come and talk to me, and they absolutely loved that. Yes, and said yes, long overdue that this kind of information goes out there so that they can work with their whānau, work with their mokos, and stop the mahi tūkino that is within whānau.
I often found that as well when I visited retirement villages and talked to kaumātua, that the topic has only just been raised to them for the first time then, which is quite later in life, and they're really, really happy that we are doing all this mahi now. Te Aniwa, what did you find as a highlight?
I liked the collective work. It just felt like being on the marae, just the way that we all flowed together and everyone just knew when to help without even verbalising, and the way we adapted as a group. And the use of reo was really good because I'm quite whakamā about my reo, but I felt more confident because I was around it. And also I was surprised because it was quite vibrant and positive, and I was nervous about how we'd approach other people because it's quite a heavy topic, and the time that we'd have to spend with people, but people were willing to sit there for 10 to 30 minutes even, and kids were really keen as well, all ages were interested, so that was really awesome.
Men showed interest, and rangatahi, young rangatahi boys showed interest, and you'd get them to do a survey, and yes, they'd stop and do a survey, and if their mates were around them, that'd make them do it too. That was good to see, and I said, lovely, yes.
Also the whanaungatanga, and especially from our rangatahi, because they were our front face, but the whanaungatanga with everybody that was going past was excellent.
You had a goal of doing 600 surveys, and it ended up being about 1,100, which was almost double. Why do you think that happened?
Lifting the veils of tapu dear, and going beyond, and looking at what has been hidden by tapu. It's a very, very tapu subject, but as a practitioner, for me, is lift those veils, because those veils have protected whānau from getting the help that they really need. And it's also protected the ones that have done the harm too, let alone the ones that have received the harm. So it's been really good that whānau are interested. But no, I don't think it, I know it. One of the things that was very, very obvious is that we need to have a bigger stall because the amount of people that want to disclose. And for some it was uncomfortable.
Being around close to others.
We're having to fill in the survey and then wanting to talk. And they would start to talk and, but we had a young fellow working with us, and he would go after them and talk to them. It was wonderful. What was good about having him there, I think, must have been the icing on the cake, because the rangatahi recognised
They did.
and especially the rangatahi male.
Yeah.
The schoolboys and that, they all knew who he was.
He was a draw card.
He
for
was.
Sure.
He was an absolute draw card, and they'd want his signature and everything. You know?
Photo.
And just and photo, yes. Yeah, and just want to talk to him. Yeah. And of course having pretty cordial too.
For sure.
Yeah.
It was so well.
That's such a true story, Whai, because it was engagement, I think, with anybody walking past, was the draw cards, and was the reason why we exceeded the number of surveys that we thought we were going to do. And it was busy, like, it was constant.
It was a good vibe, I remember.
It was fantastic.
Just the whole Matatini was awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
And the vibe from the other tents around us, you know, the people were just coming, you know. And across from us were the government tents, you know, like Minister of Education and somebody else, and they had huge tents. Well, we're going to have that next time, because if anything, these past 2 Matatinis have showed us is that we need room for disclosures.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What were some of the challenges at Te Matatini for you?
That was one of them, like people wanting to disclose. And we didn't really have the room. On occasion we went across and used the government tents.
Yes, we did. They had sofas, chairs, I did.
Bags, I remember.
One of them was my daughter's tent. She works in Minister of Education. And I'd go over there, how do I get the noho, and we'd sit and talk and everything and that, And so it was, you know, tātou, whānau. The good thing about it is that they were Māoris too.
Yeah.
But no, it was, like I said earlier, Riverton, it was people wanting to know, people wanting to engage, and really, really thinking that this is out in the public forum and being discussed. You know.
Are there any other challenges that you experienced?
There were only you two for practitioners, so it would have been probably good to have more practitioners to help with disclosures.
Absolutely, need more practitioners. Yes, we do. Yes, we need the whole of Ngā Kaitiaki Mauri to be involved, because that's who the practitioners are from a Māori world point of view. Yeah, we do. Yep.
What were some of the key findings?
So in the surveys, for reference, we asked 3 survey questions, and they were all open-ended questions, just so we could get as much info from whānau without trying to influence their answers. And the questions were, what makes you feel safe? Who would you talk to if you felt unsafe or if you're experiencing sexual violence? And what does sexual violence prevention look like for you? And the questions were pretty good, except for the third one. People were kind of confused, and a lot of rangatahi thought it meant, what does sexual violence look like? So just making that more accessible would be better. But there was so much information. Whānau was so willing to just really try and help the kaupapa. We found that rangatahi were most likely to talk to their mums, and if not their mothers, whānau, and that's lovely that heaps of our whānau Māori who were there had heaps of support, but it also points out that how vulnerable children who don't have whānau support, and when a lot of the time the abuse happens within the whānau with close. So kind of trying to see the different groups that are vulnerable, and the children that don't have any whānau support are very vulnerable. And it'd be good if we had resources to help mothers, because we had one mother say that safety looks like her mokopuna and her children being safe, but then for the third question she actually didn't know how to prevent sexual violence, so helping mothers, helping whānau take care of their tamariki. There were partners, heaps of tāne were very shy or whakamā, but they wanted to be able to help their partners, they just didn't know how. And they pretty much all the tāne relied on their partners if they were going to experience that, so it'd be good to have resources on like all kinds of relationships.
Some of the questions that were required a depth of knowledge to answer them was sent to myself or to Billie Jean, and some of those questions there were, how can we talk about this fire? And I said, simple, sweetheart. Well, you're going to kōrero, and most of them were nannies that I was speaking to. I said, mata koe whae, ai, o koera. Kōrero, mai rāno, hea nā mahi o te raho, hea nā mahi o te tero. Oh, of course, she said. Oh, tika tō kōrero, tēnā koe whae. Carries on walking. So, and the important thing was that the moko needs to hear the nannies and the fathers and the aunties and the uncles and the mothers actually having that conversation. As simple as talking about it. We can talk about the silver ferns and the All Blacks.
It's just getting away from the stigma, right?
Yes. And we're all about breaking down the stigma. Breaking down the, you've got to go behind those veils of tapu that people have been able to hide behind. Meaning people that do the harmful behaviour and those that receive the harmful behaviour. And then there's the extended whānau too that close around, and such thing as denial, or shut your mouth. Or you're going to get a hiding, you better not talk about that. Or uncle was just drunk. What a lot of shit, honestly. But
I noticed how, because I've been in like high school and how awkward sex ed is, but I noticed the way that whaihira talked to young boys. You'd be like, do you have a condom in your pocket? Do you know? And she'd be like, this is the whare tangata, this is tapu, is your ure tapu?
I remember first meeting you. You were giving it to him. That's great. No,
Direct day fire.
Just talk about, if you haven't got a condom in your, what's in your wallet, I don't mean your money. If you haven't got a condom, then I can give you one. It's simple talk like that. Appreciate your partner or your lover or who you're going to be. And if it's only a one-night stand, do you want to leave your seed there and not know that your seed is growing?
So true.
Yeah. I said, because you young ones here talk to one that knows about one-night stands. And you've got to think about that, because there's too many of our babies. You could look at Oranga Tamariki to see where a lot of our mokos are.
Even the tapu of the body, if I had have been told that when I was like 12, like your body is tapu, that would have actually helped, because I wouldn't have interacted with certain people that I chose to, because I had no education on my own mana even.
I think that's one thing I read in the report, that a lot of it is about giving people or teaching them about the mana that they have got.
Right.
Yeah.
We're born, every living soul in the world is born with mana. It's implanted at the time of copulation, at the time of pregnancy, at the time the ure and the tero when they meet. It's right at the very second mana's implanted. And it takes 9 months for that mana to enhance and grow. And nā ka puta mai te pipi takes its first breath. Mana is absolutely intact. And until Māori, whānau hapu and iwi have a responsibility to make sure that that mana grows. And that has been one of the biggest results in Te Maori that has urbanisation has proven that. Leaving home in the 50s and 60s and the 70s, away from that nurturing of the nannies. And I've heard many men say, oh, I was more scared of auntie than I was the police.
Oh, yeah.
And that's right across the country, that kind of knowledge. So it's about It's about talking about it and not shying away from it. But mana is a good solid kōrero. You know, born with mana.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it? Yeah. Are you going to abuse it or enhance it? Are you going to commit a violation against somebody's mana? Think about it. Or are you going to think about that person's mana and think, oh no, I'll be here. It's about taking control of yourself, taking control of your hiningaro, taking control of your wairua, and leaving the physicality where it means to be until it's a really good engagement, you know. Because sex is beautiful. Absolutely. Respect it for that.
I know it might be off topic, but I think the conversation about mana is so important. When we have someone who's been sexually abused, their mana may not be as strong. How do we build that up again?
Mana never ever leaves you. It sits there. It can sit dormant until the violation has been, the transgression has been dealt with, so that the mana can come back, because the mana just patiently waits. It doesn't leave you. It's like that story of footprints in the sand. You know, and there was just one set of footprints, and apparently the Lord is meant to have said, that was when I carried you. Mana's the same. Mana is the very same. So it's about peeling back those layers so that mana can grow like how it is meant to. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. I did see that from the report that there was some recommendations or plans in place to support whānau by creating resources. What are some of the resources that you might have in mind that can be created for whānau?
Well, we've done some fantastic resources, especially our posters on our 9 principles, you know. Each one of them, you know, we have a beautiful poster that's done for each one of our principles, our ture in Ngā Kaitiaki Mauri. But
some of the whānau asked for age-appropriate resources, so that's something that we need to work towards as well. So it's something that they can take to their tamariki regardless of age, you know, and introduce. Probably more so, you know, the mana, that sort of stuff. Also, people wanted information, so it's either information on organisations where they can get support. So it's either grabbing their information and handing it out, or putting it in one resource that people can have, you know. So it's those sorts of things really that we need to think about. And there was lots of feedback, right, from the surveys about what people
need, like focusing on mothers, on partners, healthy relationships. As like an outsider from the sector as well, I could be like, oh yeah, I didn't know about like how to restore the mana of the uri, what that looks like everyone's different, because it's a collective approach to eliminating, seeing where I fit into and where I can help, and then seeing where everyone can help in. It's kind of just more resources, more funding for resources.
Yeah, funding.
But the Kōwaio journal definitely is a hit.
Oh, yes,
you know, schools could as were able to get boxes of them at Matatini, which is really great.
And come back too. Have we got any more boxes? They were handing them out. How many muckles you got? 5? Yeah, they might say, 4. I see 6 go in the bag. Hand it over. But they were so grateful, and our resources were they were top of the line.
I feel like the puka, the kōwaio, is not only good for people who might be struggling with sexual violence. It's just about connecting to who you are and actually finding who you are.
And there lies the essence of kōwaio, dear. And it can be a personal book or a whānau book. And for a lot of our rangatahi, it's the first time, you know, where am I from, Mum? I was born here in Wainua Mata, but I know you're from the far north.
Exactly.
So what's our marae up there, Mum? Our dad, So it created conversations within whānau that they had to go on a journey because of what the moko was saying. Yeah.
Adults were saying that they wanted to have journals for themselves too, so not even just rangatahi.
I've actually used them with the wahine group at home who equally love them. Yeah. Yeah, same as the rangatahi.
Yeah.
It shows how receptive whānau are, like they're really keen to take the resources and use them, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Fair bit of midi and talking needs to take place. And in a circumstances like what we're in, it's about do the paper, kōrero, go, and because there's a lot of people waiting, and so time has to be. Time is of the essence, and of course people, we'd have people there, like I had one person here, and I've got to go and see my moko player. That person come back. Yeah, her moko was performing on stage, and she was only going past on her way. So she'd look at the survey, I'll come back.
Yeah.
And she did.
Oh, good. They know the thinking that's involved in answering these questions and how important it is to not just.
And a few of them we had to sit alongside, especially for that question number 3. It was a difficult one for people to understand, but once you talked it through with them, they had a much better understanding what the sexual violence prevention looked like to you. Prevention was the key word. Yeah.
But when I think about our people having to go to tauiwi services to get kaupapa Māori worldview, it's not necessarily happening out there. And we definitely right across the country need more of our Māori people, and hopefully Te Aorere Kura is going to do that. It's going to. The money's got to come from somewhere, and I can only think of corrections, oramatanga riki, police. They get millions and millions of dollars. We provide employment. Do you know that, Jess?
No.
Oh, for us, the iwi Māori, we have to provide the biggest employment here in our country. And you've got to think of Oranga Tamariki and how many millions go in there. Think about corrections and how many millions go in there. Think about the police and how many millions go in there. And even education, yet the failure rate for our Māori kids is phenomenal. So a lot of money is going everywhere. Imagine that money being devolved back to the people. Then we would be able to make a difference to rape and sexual abuse in our country. We have the answers, there's no doubt about that. And it's about listening to whānau and hapu and devolving the money back to the people. Yeah.
With some of the resources that are going to be created with funding when it comes, because it's coming, how can other organisations in the sector get involved or help share those? I say that because as the founder of Brave, I support rangatahi with what we do, and it would be so good to be able to help you in any way. How can others get involved if they want to?
In what way, Jess? Like in creating a resource,
I think just being able to distribute them to audiences that we know of that might need them.
I think that's that's quite straightforward, to be able to do that. So our resources sit in the national office with the national office team in Wellington. And that's where we go to access.
I guess people just need to reach out and get in touch and then see what's available and how they can help or share those.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's for a lot of our Pacific and Māori people are very involved in sports, and that area has never been whittled to actually take on board portraying out there that yeah, we keep ourselves safe. Yeah, we're making sure that our women are safe. Yeah, I look after my wahine. I look after my sons. I look after my daughters. I look after my mokos. And if you could have somebody like the Silver Ferns displaying that, or the Warriors, or the All Blacks, or any sports team, having the guts to talk about one of the things that absolutely, in lots of ways, cripples our people. And so I think that there's a lot of areas unexplored, you know, and I would love to whittle those, especially, you know, it's a waste of time trying for corporates, companies to do it, because they're not interested, they're only interested in themselves. But to target our people and say, what can the All Blacks do? Even if it's something on their web page or something in their promotion, you know, that they're against sexual abuse. That would be powerful, you know, and so I think that there are uncharted grounds that we need to look at and and see where it can go. But there has to be a continuation of that.
Are you getting more creative? More puka?
Well, we haven't quite decided that, but we are going to be working on something. I don't know. I've been thinking in my head about mana and what that all entails. You know, and that could be, I don't know. But as a group, we will have a discussion on that and see where we can go. Yeah.
I mean, we definitely take on board the feedback that we got from Matatini, from whānau there, and some of their wants and needs going forward before the next Matatini, and developing some resources based on what whānau are wanting.
That's true. Yes, that is true. Yes, from the surveys. Yep.
What are the goals for next Matatini?
Well, that would be one of them, is to develop those resources ready for Matatini.
And have a rōpū of rakatahi again. Be in the front and doing the mahi. And plus it's, you know, we need to, there's no way you can go to be trained to be a sexual abuse practitioner, you know, unless you're in one of the organisations. You know, our tauiwi partners, they pretty much have that down packed, I think. But for our Māori practitioners, it's for those that are Māori practitioners now that work in kaupapa Māori, they already are working hard to work with their people. But that's in, I know Taitokero is well covered, I know West Auckland is well covered, I know Christchurch is well covered. But then what's happening in Dunedin, Invercargill, Queenstown, which is a hot spot. Other cities, Wellington, for instance, you know, so we're going to have more relationships with more of our people to be able to get done what has to be done. Just reaching a few is not enough.
It's very difficult, but we'll get there.
Well, you know, the bulk of our Māori people go to tauiwi organisations, and mau wā, that is, we've seen it too many times. Because the biggest things to work with our people is because they're so deep-seated in continuation of trauma that comes from their parents and from their nannies and from their whānau and their hapu and their iwi. That trauma is set in concrete. To peel those layers back, big mahi, big mahi. So, more money, definitely more money is going to be needed to be able to make a whole in this. Yep.
Thank you all so much for your kōrero. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we close?
No, I mean, I just want to finish by saying, and we've talked about it, that Matatini was such a great event. And I think the event itself helped our little stall be as successful as it was. And it still blows me away that for the nature of, the kaupapa of our stall brought in so many people, but it was truly a really good time, a really happy time, and our people were happy to come and talk about it. So I feel like that's a real win.
It's just so great that people are comfortable to talk about it. I find it's amazing.
Yes.
Especially the young ones. They're standing there, might look whakamā, but break the ice and
Anything else?
Looking forward to the next Matatini.
Yeah.
And looking forward to, because I know that Taranaki do a good job.
Oh, yeah.
From
Great venue.
Yeah, from hosting such an occasion, and it will be just absolutely brilliant when we get to Taranaki. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And the resources that we will come up with and distribute yet again. So
Can't wait to see personally. It's going to be good.
tēnā koe te.
Would you like to please do our closing karakia whai?
Okay. Tengo tamatu tamaiti wai rua tapu āminei. Awe meria ki ana koe te kiritia kei a koe te are koe whakapainga nā wahine, aka whakapainga te hua tō kōpū. E hata māri i te mātou wahine o te atu e nui koe mu mātou mutu ngahara, te aro tō mātou matinga rawa āmenei. Tengo tamatu tamaiti wai rua tapu āmenei.
Amen.
Tēnā koe te.
That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Kia pai tōra hei kona.